Hello WWE fans, hello TYT Sports fans. It is me, Josh Gibbs, Josh.0, Chief Josh Yola, your WWE correspondent here to talk about the Royal Rumble. It just wrapped up. It's almost 11 p.m. here on the East Coast on Sunday, January 29th. And now we know at least one half of the main event for WrestleMania. Who is that one half? We'll get to that in 1 second. Let's go over some of the other matches really quick. Overall, it was a good show. The show itself started out really strong. We had a little bit of a strange ending for the Royal Rumble, and we'll get into that in 1 second. But the crowd was really into it. The show itself was really great, and we had really strong matches throughout the entire program, all leading up to the 30-man Royal Rumble, which is really what this whole Big Four pay-per-view is all about. Who's going to main event WrestleMania in April in Orlando at WrestleMania 33. So what we had, the very first match, we had the Raw Women's Championship match, Charlotte versus Bayley. It was an honor for them to open this show. I mean, that shows a lot of confidence that WWE is allowing these two women to do it. On the flip side, if the match would have been terrible, then there's nowhere to go but up from there. So the WWE put themselves in a can't-lose situation. They look good because they gave women a big honor. And fortunately for us, they really didn't let us down. It was a genuinely good match. Now, we've talked about this with friends of mine and on other podcasts about who is going to win. I said, there's no way that Bayley wins this match. It's just not going to happen. They've built Charlotte up as the queen of everything, and she's going to go into WrestleMania as the title holder. And hope she may lose it at that time, but there's no way she was going to lose it this soon. Bayley is a fantastic talent. She's definitely going to get her shot in the spotlight. I think she will be a champion sometime in the future, but that time is certainly not now. There was some really great spots. They had actually Charlotte ended up doing her finishing move on the ring apron, which was really, really great to see. It showed, these women are taking a lot of bumps. Charlotte actually got hit in the mouth so hard her mouth was bleeding about halfway through the match. And overall, it was just a fantastic back and forth between the two. They had some really good acrobatic moves. And Charlotte she doesn't have the natural charisma that her dad does. Her father, of course, the very famous Ric Flair, 16-time world champion, Hall of Famer, the only guy who was in there twice for himself. And for the Four Horsemen, I mean, legend. The guy exuded charisma, and he still can turn that switch on and off when he needs to. Charlotte doesn't have that. What she does have, though, is this ability to show you this really smug, kind of entitled person. And that's her ability. That's what she's got. She comes from wrestling royalty, as she says all the time. And so that's how she sells her character. And she does it really well. So she's a great heel champion. And ultimately, we were treated to a really good women's championship match. So Charlotte retained her title. And that led us right into another championship match right away. And that was the Universal Championship with Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. The stipulation being that Chris Jericho was going to be suspended over the ring in a shark cage. We're always wary whenever Roman Reigns is involved in a match because Vince McMahon has this obvious love affair with him, so we're never sure if they're just going to let him go over all the time or if he's going to be used to sell someone else. It's an odd thing to try to guesstimate what was going to happen. I really, really wanted Kevin Owens to retain because I want to see an Owens-Jericho match at WrestleMania. I think the Jericho friendship is going to start breaking up here pretty soon, and I really want to see those two guys face each other at WrestleMania. I think they could put on a fantastic show. Now, that being said, this show was great too. I don't like when people disparage Roman Reigns and they say, oh, you can't wrestle. Okay, if he's at this level, he absolutely can wrestle. He can wrestle better than you can. So he can do a lot of things better than you can. So saying you can't wrestle is not a fair criticism. It's like telling a football player, you're terrible at playing football. Okay, if they're in the NFL, they have a modicum of talent that is far superior to the normal person. So they obviously can do some things right. And Roman Reigns is no exception. The way he's been booked and the way he's been handled is absolutely terrible. I completely get that. Now, there were some more great spots in this match too. There was a lot of chairs being brought in because it was a no DQ match. So there were chairs on the outside of the ring that Kevin Owens fell through. He did a Samoan drop. He got dropped on chairs in the middle of the ring. It was fantastic. I mean, it was an old school feel to it with tables being broken and chairs being broken and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the match, just when we think Roman Reigns is going to get the upper hand, Braun Strowman came in and interfered in the match and totally destroyed Roman Reigns. And since it was no DQ, there was nothing the refs could do about it. And Kevin Owens gets the cover, and thankfully, he retains his title. So Kevin Owens is still your Universal Champion. Now, hopefully, the WWE is going to use this going forward, keep him as champ going into WrestleMania, and maybe we'll see that Kevin Owens-Jericho matchup. So let's hope for that. The third one was, this one was probably the weakest one on the card, even though it was still a really strong match, and it was the Cruiserweight Championship. It was Rich Swann versus Neville. I love what WWE has done with Neville. He's a great heel. He's a great bad guy. He's been referring to himself as the king of the cruiserweights ever since he came back from his injury. He's got this big beard thing going on, which is a typical bad guy thing to have. And he's just been destroying people in the cruiserweight division. And it was needed. Cruiserweight thing started out really strong with a lot of hype and then got kind of stale. Sadly, it got stale pretty fast. And it needed something. Since it was so new, it needed something to keep it relevant and to keep it fresh. And thankfully, Neville's return has done just that. He's been a fantastic competitor, agitating people in and out of the ring. And I thought he had to win this because he's been the best thing that the cruiserweights have going for them. He's absolutely the best cruiserweight wrestler that WWE has. So he needs to be the measuring stick. He needs to be the thing that people in the cruiserweight division are trying to get to. And so it was great to see him win. A lot of high flying. Interesting to see that he did not use his finishing move to get the win over Rich Swann, which is normally the Red Arrow. Instead, he used a submission hold. That's just a typical bad guy thing, is use the submission hold and make them tap out instead of covering them with a high-flying move. So that was nice to see as well, but absolutely well-deserved and still a fantastic match. Number 4, we had the absolute best match of the night. There's a reason why it was AJ Styles versus John Cena for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This is another one that could have gone either way. John Cena is obviously one of the best, if not the best wrestler that WWE has produced in the last decade. AJ Styles it premiered at the Royal Rumble last year, and ever since then, he has just been setting a new standard for the company. He's a world-renowned wrestler. He brings a ton of credibility into this business, and he's been such a fantastic worker. And he and John Cena have been going back and forth for so long, but you can tell watching these two guys that they not only respect each other genuinely, but that they enjoy working together. And that's what makes pro wrestling so much fun. That's why it's so entertaining. When you get two guys like this who are so good at what they do, they can put on a really fantastic show. And that's exactly what they did. This match, hands down, was the match of the night, guaranteed. There were so many good back and forths. A friend of mine, Mark, commented that their shots looked real. It looked like they were taking some pretty hard bumps and punches to the face and stuff like that. That's the mark of real professionals, the fact that they can make them look that real and that they don't have to pull their punches as much. And we're still wondering, wow, did he really hit him? Did he or didn't he? It was great. It was fantastic. Lots of great kickouts from either one's finishing move. And then at the end, John Cena showed why he's one of the strongest men in the WWE. He gives an attitude adjustment to AJ Styles and then rolls him over, still grabbing onto him, picks him up again from, dead weight, essentially, just picks him up and gives him another attitude adjustment. I mean, all those hours in the gym certainly mean something, especially for a guy like John Cena, who prides himself on physical fitness as such a big part of who he is. And then not only that, but after he wins the match, the first thing he does is he goes over to one of the kids from Make-A-Wish and puts the belt over him, takes some pictures with him, talks to him for a few minutes, and then exits the arena. And they made a comment about how he's now granted over 500 wishes for Make-A-Wish, which is, it's incredible. For one person to do that, I mean, he is the biggest celebrity in the world for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He's the most requested celebrity of all time for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That tells you something. For anybody who says wrestling is fake, pro wrestling's not real, well, it may not be, but to these kids, it's real to them. It means something to them. And to those families of those children, that means something to them. So the global outreach and the effect that it can have on families and especially on children certainly can't be denied. And a guy like John Cena, who has now tied Ric Flair's record for the most world championships of all time, 16, it couldn't happen to a better person. Now, what's this going to mean for WrestleMania? Is he going to hold the belt going all the way through? I don't know. Elimination Chamber is in 2 weeks, so undoubtedly he'll be defending the belt there more than likely. So we'll have to see if he can hold it all the way in through till April. That was great. There were a bunch of matches on the pre-show. We don't have to go over that because what it's all about is the Rumble. So we're not going to go through all 30 entrants, but what surprised me about the Rumble itself was there weren't that many surprises. There was really only one surprise entrant, and that was number 10, Ty Dillinger, the Perfect 10. It made the most sense for him to be at number 10 since he calls himself the Perfect 10. But that was it. There was no Samoa Joe. There was no Finn Balor. There was all these other names that were rumored to show up. Maybe Triple H, maybe Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins was actually eliminated from the Royal Rumble by the McMahons when he interviewed at NXT TakeOver the other night. So it was strange that none of those things happened. And then the biggest names didn't come in until much later. Brock Lesnar came in at number 26, Goldberg came in at 28, and Undertaker came in at 29. So they had probably the best chance of winning. Chris Jericho stayed in the longest. He came in at number 2, and he was there almost all until the end. Side note for him, Chris Jericho now has over 4 hours total in the Royal Rumble, making that the most in history. So he's participated in the event itself for the longest amount of time anyway. But I was actually surprised to see how quickly somebody like Brock Lesnar, he was eliminated. Once Goldberg came in, it was just a few minutes, and then Goldberg speared him and eliminated him right over the ropes. Extremely surprising. Undertaker came in, and then we had the disappointment. This is where the boos started coming in from San Antonio, because Undertaker comes in at number 29, and then number 30 was Roman Reigns. Yes, again, Roman Reigns. And the boos were just deafening from the crowd in San Antonio. And what made it even worse was that then Roman Reigns eliminated The Undertaker, who had been my pick to win the Royal Rumble. I mean, how do you bet against the dead man? And then when Roman Reigns eliminated him and The Undertaker staring up with his eyeliner eyes, and everyone was pissed. Because at that moment, everyone thought, oh my God, can Roman Reigns really win this thing again? Please, no, please, God, no, anything but that. Again, there's legit criticism about him. I would never say he's a bad wrestler, but I'm sick of him being forced into big matches in this kind of way. They really have no idea of what to do with his character. And so ultimately it came down to the final 3 was Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt. So the Wyatt family has the advantage with Orton, Wyatt against Reigns, and Reigns is able to separate the two. He gets Bray Wyatt over the ropes, trying to go for the Superman punch. Roman Reigns catches him with an RKO out of nowhere, throws him over, and Randy Orton wins. He becomes one of the few men to win a Royal Rumble several times now in the course of his career. So now Randy Orton is your 2017 Royal Rumble winner, but who is he going to face at WrestleMania? The only thing that's guaranteed is that he main events, that he will go up against the WWE champ. Will that be John Cena? Or will somehow one of the Wyatt family members end up with the title between now and then? Who knows? I've heard a lot of rumblings that that's exactly what's going to happen, that Bray Wyatt is going to somehow get the title from John Cena, and we're going to see a Wyatt-Orton kind of match. Because I don't think a lot of people are too big on seeing Randy Orton and John Cena face each other again. It's been a while since they've had a match against each other, but nobody's really interested in that for a main event of WrestleMania. Now, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, I could be sold on that, especially if we get a Bray Wyatt victory. The guy desperately needs some kind of big win. He always loses at these big pay-per-views, so he needs some kind of major push if you're serious about keeping him. Randy Orton doesn't need another world championship win, especially at WrestleMania. So that was it. Kind of a disappointing end to the Royal Rumble itself. It started out great. Again, not a lot of surprises, but at least some solid eliminations and things like that. We had a couple of surprise eliminations anyway, like James Ellsworth came in for some reason, and once he was finally able to get in the ring, he was almost immediately thrown out. But not a lot are in the ways of shocks, which is what we're kind of used to in the Royal Rumble and what we kind of look forward to. So I was definitely disappointed. And then, of course, the Roman Reigns twist at the end really agitated a lot of people. And maybe WWE thinks that, well, look, he got eliminated, so shouldn't that make you happy? Okay, sure. You're bringing me on this roller coaster of emotions and then at the end expecting me to be thankful. Okay, got it. So that was the Royal Rumble. So did you watch the Rumble? What did you think? If you didn't watch the Rumble, now you know the results. What do you think of the results? As always, leave a comment below. I will always jump in there comment back and forth with you. We can talk about pro wrestling, and we can talk about anything you want. Just throw it in the comments below.